Hello, my name is Mandy and my channel is Mandy Sorts It Out, and I had a great deal of fun making the thumbnail. I hope it made you laugh. It certainly made me laugh. Right, so today I'm going through the food that I ate while I was with family. I say with family, I was actually on my own looking after a dog for the family, but I was away from home, and I've always had a problem that when I'm away from home, I feel like I'm on holiday, and therefore normal food rules don't apply, and I can go a bit mad and I can have treats. And unfortunately, I haven't conquered that yet. I was trying to, apparently, on this trip, but it's kind of a bit of a mixed bag of information from when I've number crunched the information from what I ate, because I wrote it all down in my little notebook. And yeah, it's a bit mixed bag of information, but it's things that are good to know. So what I've done is I've used the Fitatu app, and I put the food in there, and that breaks everything down as to how many calories, protein, fats and carbs you eat a day. So I've recorded that. I have also paid for the Fitatu app, so I can get 4 more measurements. And the ones I've chosen are saturated fat, salt, fibre and iron. And I chose those because I have chronic kidney disease and you're supposed to be careful of your salt, and also eat a lot of fibre. Fibre's always been the thing I find trickiest to eat when I'm camping out away from home. But that's me bringing in the excuses a bit early, really. Shouldn't be doing that. The Fitatu app makes recommendations for people who are my height and weight, who are trying to lose weight gradually. I've put that in the app that I am. So they've given recommendations for how much calories, protein, fats and carbs I should be eating, and I have decided to go with those. But for saturated fat, salt, fibre and iron, I looked at the Eat Well guide and I looked at general recommendations, because I don't think the Eat Well guide talks about iron, and I think actually I just googled for saturated fat. But I did look at the Eat Well guide, and there's a few recommendations it gives, like 2 portions of fish a week, 1 being oily, 5 portions of fruit and veg daily. You should base your meals on starchy carbs. I've written cards. Potatoes, bread, rice or pasta. For protein, eat beans, pulses. I don't actually think I know what a pulse is. I'm presuming lentils is a pulse. Fish, eggs and meat. Limit red meat to 70 grams a day. Include milk, cheese and yogurt, opt for lower fat, low sugar or calcium fortified, unsweetened plant-based alternatives. Choose unsaturated oils and spreads and consume them in small amounts. Drink 6 to 8 glasses of fluid a day, mostly water, whilst minimizing foods high in fat, salt or sugar. Anyway, Fitatu bases its recommendations on the World Health Organization, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, and the National Institute of Public Health, National Centre for Nutrition Education, Poland. I'm sure those 3 bodies probably clash on some of the recommendations, so I'm not sure which recommendation is from where, or if they've averaged them over those 3 bodies. But I have a chart here, very pretty chart, and I'm going to put that up, and I'm going to put my head in a little corner of the screen. And what I've decided is the best, because the chart is in day order, is that when I am talking about the first few days, I'll be crouching down here at the bottom of the screen, and when I talk about the last few days, I'll be in a little box at the top of the screen, and I'm going to try and make that work. I've never done that before, so this is a new thing that I'm going to try and get to work on YouTube. We shall see if I'm successful, but I'm going to show you the chart, and while we're looking at the chart, I'm going to go through what I ate on the particular days that I have number crunched. Okay, so let's get started. So I looked on Kidney Care UK. If you have non-dialysis chronic kidney disease, which I have, then you should have 18 to 30 grams of protein with your main meal and focus on starchy vegetables to fill you up. So let's go through what I ate over these 9 days. So Saturday the 18th, I had a banana for breakfast with 100ml of cranberry juice. This was at home before I left to join the family. I was finishing up the food I had. For lunch I had a 3-egg omelette with 5 radishes and a third of a red onion and some sprays of oil. Then I got to family and I was hanging around for a while they were sorting themselves out to go, and I was hungry, so I had 10 macadamia nuts, and after they left I had a tin of bean salad from Aldi, and I was still a little bit peckish, so later on I had a roll with some spread and peanut butter and a coffee. So for the stats, that was 1,556 calories, 57 grams of protein, 83 grams of fat, 138 grams of carbs, 16.4 grams of saturated fat, 1.9 grams of salt, 26.1 grams of fiber, and 2.9 milligrams of iron. And I had 3 portions of fruit that day, which is a bit of a fiddle, but the cranberry juice does count as a portion, the banana counts as a portion, then I'm mixing up the radish and the red onion. Well, there was sweet corn in the tin bean salad. I don't know if the beans count, because they're kind of proteiny. I don't know if they count as vegetables. I'm a little confused about that. I count them as my 30 a day. I always count up and try and get at least 30 plants a week. That for the first week. I'm on my list for the second week already. On Sunday, I had coffee, toast with mackerel and tomato sauce, and I'd made use of the kitchen before it went by boiling up some new potatoes. So I had new potatoes with pesto while they were hot. And then I did the first thing I do not want to admit to doing, which was I'd put the blackcurrant jam on the table in front of me, the table which was my kitchen as well as everything else. And I started fancying something sweet. And before I really knew what was happening, I was eating the jam out the jar with a spoon, and I'd eaten about 3 tablespoons of it before I realised what was happening and put the lid back on. And I've never done that in my life before. I've never eaten jam out the jar with a spoon. But I do think it's part of that I'm away from home when I'm on holiday, I should have something sweet thing. And then I had 3 macadamia nuts. So that was 1,302 calories, 37 grams of protein, 46 grams of fat, 189 grams of carbs, 12.3 grams of saturated fat, 2.3 grams of salt, 14.7 grams of fiber, 1.2 milligrams of iron, and 1 portion of fruit and veg. I mean, I probably had 1 portion of black currants all on their own, to be honest. But there was mackerel and tomato sauce as well. For Monday, I had toast with blackcurrant jam. It's a much better way to eat blackcurrant jam than eating it out of the jar. Coffee with new potatoes and mayonnaise and pesto for lunch. And then I went to Lidl. And as I was in the car park checking out the offers, I noticed that I was in time for their happy hour when you can get their cakes at a discount. And I went in to see if anything appealed. It doesn't normally, but they had these cakes I'd not seen before called a caramel Suisse. And they were like a slice of puff pastry with caramel in the middle. And I bought one. I bought one of them. I got also a sesame bar, which is sesame seeds kind of glued together with sugar. I bought a packet of watermelon, and I ate all of them. The caramel Swiss, the sesame bar, all 70 grams of it, and the 300 grams of watermelon. I also had a third of a 100-gram chocolate bar, dark chocolate bar. I don't know why I would have needed all that sugar after the sugar I'd already eaten. Suffice it to say, I wasn't hungry for dinner. So that was 2,000 calories, 38 grams of protein, 93 grams of fat, 251 grams of carbs, 22.8 grams of saturated fat, 2.4 grams of salt, 19.7 grams of fibre, and 0.5 milligrams of iron. I am on iron tablets, so I'm not too worried about the iron, but as it was the thing I chose last time, I thought it's good to keep on and see how I'm doing with eating iron. Not very well, as it turns out. On Tuesday, I had toast with blackcurrant jam for breakfast with coffee and a banana. Then I had tuna onion mayonnaise on toast for lunch with banana and 1/6 of a bar of dark chocolate. Then I made pasta with boiling water at the kettle. Absolutely disgusting. Mixed it with pesto, a little bit of mayonnaise and some sweet corn. It was absolutely vile. I ate about half of it, forced it down because I'd cooked it and there was nothing else to cook, and then threw the rest away. I had a banana, 1/6 of a bar of dark chocolate, and a coffee. That was 1,949 calories, 51 grams of protein, 83 grams of fat, 241 grams of carbs, 17.4 grams of saturated fat, 2.8 grams of salt, 16.3 grams of fibre, 1.8 milligrams of iron, and 5 portions of fruit and veg. That was mainly bananas. I had banana after banana after banana. Wednesday, I had blackcurrant jam on toast for breakfast with coffee. Then I had a banana. Then I had tuna mayonnaise onion on toast. Then I had an apple. And then I had some Greek yogurt with honey as a kind of pudding and another coffee. It was quite a feast for lunch, really. I had 1/6 of a bar of dark chocolate, which I think is about 16 grams. And then I went to Tesco and I needed some foods and bits, but I was also wanting to celebrate because I'd had an email that the grant of probate had come through for Mum's death, which meant that an awful lot of things could get started off. So I bought a Yo Sushi chicken teriyaki thing that was in the reduced cabinet. There was 4 little pieces of chicken teriyaki. I put that into frittato and it's come up with no discernible salt. Well, I know that's wrong because chicken's got salt in it and teriyaki sauce has got salt in it, but I don't know what the salt in that is. And it's one of the downfalls of using an app like frittato. It's only as good as the information entered into it. I also bought 4 creme caramel and a bag of 4 chocolate shortbread to celebrate. And I remember having the first creme caramel. They wouldn't crack open, so I had to cut them open with scissors. And I remember eating it, enjoying it, and thinking I must cut the rest open because I can't crack them. And I cut another one off and I ate it. And I don't think that was the plan, but I wasn't really thinking about it. And before I knew it, I just continued on and eaten all 4 of them. And I remember particularly eating the last one. I was really concentrating on not breaking off any bits of it. I must have broken off bits of other ones and thought, let's see if I can eat a whole one without breaking off any bits of it in the ridges around the plastic pot. And I don't know if I was challenging myself to that or what, but I suddenly realised I'd eaten 4 creme caramel, and not just that I'd eaten 4 creme caramel, but that I needed to go on video and tell people that I'd eaten 4 creme caramel, and that was a little bit of a shock. Later on that night, I had one of the chocolate shortbread because I'd bought them to celebrate with, so celebrate with them. Yeah, I do appreciate where I'm going wrong here. So let's look at Thursday the 23rd. For breakfast, coffee and a chocolate shortbread, because by this stage I need to get rid of these 3 chocolate shortbreads. They don't last that long once they've been open. Then I had a banana. Then at 11 I had another chocolate shortbread. By the way, I don't normally have 11s, but I started having 11s while I was staying with family. I think it was boredom. I've knocked it on the head now I'm home. Chocolate shortbreads are quite rich, and not surprisingly, I got reflux. I got reflux really badly. I had 7 hours of feeling really ill, being on the toilet, lying in bed, belching like you won't believe. And it wasn't till much later that evening that I dared risk eating again. And I had a plain bread roll, nothing on it, and some Greek yogurt with honey, Greek style yogurt with honey. Oh. So Thursday, 1,618 calories, 27 grams of protein, 86 grams of fat, 186 grams of carbs, 38.8 grams of sat fat, 1.7 grams of salt, 13 grams of fibre, 2.4 milligrams of iron, and only one portion of fruit and veg. So Friday I was antsy. I was really antsy because I suddenly realised that the grant of probate might be delivered to my house when I wasn't there, and the postbox by this stage was likely to be stuffed because there's people put all sorts of junk mail in the post boxes, and they're not very big. And previously, the postman's just sort of, when he's got a big A4 envelope, especially those cardboard back ones, just sort of poked it a bit in the post box, so most of it's hanging out, and then they've got wet in the rain. And I thought, what if the grant of probate gets wet? Will people accept it? So, bit of a panic going on. I'm getting really antsy. Nothing I can do about it except eat. So, wasn't too bad on Friday, but Saturday was appalling. Anyway, Friday, toast and jam and coffee for breakfast, and a coffee with chocolate shortbread for 11s. Then I had a Greek salad for lunch, which I'd bought for 2 days before, but I ate too many creme caramel to fit it in. Then I had hummus and on a roll, 1/6 of a bar of dark chocolate, some Greek yogurt and honey, and a nectarine. That's right, I went to Tesco again and I came home with some fruit, so I bought a nectarine and more bananas. So that was a Friday. That was 1,844 calories, 37 grams of protein, 80 grams of fat, 236 grams of carbs, 34.7 grams of sat fat, 4.1 grams of salt, 24.9 grams of fibre, 0.83 milligrams of iron, and 4 portions of fruit and veg. Saturday, very, very antsy, very antsy. The family said to me they were due to come back either late that evening or early the Sunday morning. And they contacted me to say they might be a bit early. So I was like praying for them to get home so I could get home and check on the postbox. So on the Saturday, I had coffee with a nectarine, toast and peanut butter, an apple, and a banana. Really going bananas for the fruit. I thought I might as well finish the fruit up. I don't really want to put it in a car and take it home when it's so hot because it might not do very well. Then I had another banana 11s, a roll with hummus and a banana and a nectarine for lunch. Then for dinner, a roll with hummus and a banana and 1/6 of a bar of chocolate for dinner. Started driving back, stopped at a service station and thought, I'm feeling a little tired, I need a bit of a boost. So I had 1/3 of a 100-gram bar of dark chocolate because I thought that would give me a kick of caffeine that will help me keep going. Came home and I had a chamomile tea with 1 date. So that was 2,165 calories, 49 grams of protein, 69 grams of fat, 317 grams of carbs, 18.6 grams of saturated fat, 2.2 grams of salt, 42.2 grams of fibre. Hooray! Ka-ching, made my fibre target. 2.2 milligrams of iron. 8 portions of fruit and vegetable, or thereabouts. Sunday the 26th, I had porridge with blueberries and seeds, ground seeds. I had a roll with hummus and lettuce, and then on the other side of the roll I had some jam. Then I felt refluxy again. Not as bad, not near as bad. It wasn't an attack. It was just vague sensations that it might be coming. So I didn't eat for quite a while. I took quite a few medications, which weren't really getting rid, but then eventually it did go, and I thought, I'll have something to eat, but I'm going to be really careful. So I was planning to have more vegetables and things, but no, I had bread with jam because I know my stomach can cope with that when it's feeling like that. So that was 1,361 calories, 40 grams of protein, 36 grams of fat, 217 grams of carbs, 14.3 grams of saturated fat, 1.8 grams of salt, 22.4 grams of fibre and 20.1 milligrams of iron. I don't think it can be that much iron, but because that's just the oats. But this is what it says. So what did I learn? Well, on average, I had 1,816 calories. Now, this was not me trying to cut down my calories. This was me eating what I felt I needed. In fact, as you can tell, this is me sometimes eating treats that I didn't need at all. That's probably a bit low considering that there was some food in there that had no nutrition. So it's not 1,816 calories on average of nutritious food. It's less than that of nutritious food. So that's probably a little bit low. But it's odd because I felt like that was sufficient food. I wasn't hungry at all. I wasn't feeling starved. I wasn't trying to cut down. It's just what I wanted to eat. Then I had, on average, 46 grams of protein, which I think is probably okay, given what I've said about what Kidney Care UK say about protein if you've got chronic kidney disease. 75 grams of fats, way too high, but we know what that's from, don't we? We know what that's from. That's from the Danish pastry, that's from the chocolate shortbread, that's from the creme caramel. You know, it's not from healthy things, it's from the unhealthy things. The carbs is just inside the carb window. I don't know if that means I should eat more carbs, because obviously the junk food I was eating would be carb heavy. So if you took that out, I might be below the carb window. Maybe I should eat more carbs. Saturated fat is 24 grams a day on average, which isn't as bad as some of the days. My highest day was 38.8, which is shocking. It's like double what it should be. But 24 is not too bad, but it would be better being lower. And if I took away all the junk food, I'm sure it would be lower. Salt, 3 grams a day on average. Like I've said, I think the teriyaki chicken was more. But, you know, that's still good. Because even with the teriyaki chicken, if you double it, it would still be fairly low because that was an average of the 9 days. Then I've only had 22 grams of fibre a day, which is actually more than I thought I would eat while I was away, because I know that I struggle to eat fruit and vegetables when I'm away, especially that I don't have the time to prepare them in the way that I would eat them at home. I did buy some dates, which I thought might keep my fibre up, and I kept forgetting they were in the fridge. I mean, they weren't part of my meal prep. They would have been more of a snack prep, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to get into the kitchen to get to the fridge during the day, at least from Monday to Friday, from 9 o'clock till 4:30. So the dates didn't help me much. And 4 milligrams of iron on average a day. Now, I am taking iron tablets, so it's kind of irrelevant, really, but it is kind of useful to know that it is so low. If the porridge is so high in iron, that's okay, because I can eat that more. But yeah, iron was a thing that I felt last time I did this, that I was low on. And I said I needed to eat more fibre last time I did this. But this was away from home. I'm going to do it again for at least a week, maybe 9 days again, and compare how that goes with how this goes. So it'll be interesting to see how different it is, or how samey it is, really. I mean, I've just had something for lunch, which was something I had this week as well. So it'll be interesting to see how different it is. I do need to get to the shops and get some vegetables in. There you go. That was my eating while I was away. And parts of that were really embarrassing to say out loud and tell other people. And I'm really hoping, because I need to get this idea that when I'm away from home, I'm on holiday and I can eat different things, I can eat treats. I need to get rid of that idea, especially because I go to spend time with family quite often. I went 2 weeks in June and a week in July. So, I mean, if I'm there a quarter of my time, it needs to be time when I'm eating healthily. So I need to get shot of that idea. And I obviously haven't. I've obviously ruled by that idea while I was down there. But I'm hoping, looking through it like this, making myself face up to it and making myself tell people about it will help me next time I go down there. So I hope you've enjoyed watching today's video. It's been great having you here, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.